I was born in LaPorte, Indiana. And then when I was 15, we moved to Arizona. And that's where I did high school and university. I ended up getting an engineering degree and worked in the medical device industry for 4 years before I decided that I wanted to shake up my life a little bit. And it's not that I wasn't happy with the engineering job per se, I just felt like there was something calling me to take this road trip. I didn't even know really where I was gonna go. I had this general idea in my head, but I just felt in my heart that in order to actually get to where I want to be, that I had to make the decision to walk.
Were there any other factors that encouraged you to leave it behind for a different lifestyle?
I think I was feeling pretty reflective at that time. I was going through therapy as well. I saw a therapist for a couple of years and worked through a lot of past traumas and all the childhood stuff that we all have. I worked on that with her for a few years, and after seeing her for a while, this desire in me to go explore started welling up. So it was sort of a natural, almost like a funnel type of thing. Like I made the decision at one point that I wanted to express myself and grow fully into myself and be the person that I felt inside that I was. And I guess I intuitively knew that if I stayed where I was, that I wasn't actually going to grow into that person, or I wouldn't have the space to grow into that person, which it sounds like it's someone else, but like it's just me, and I'm the same as I ever have been. It's just I feel more aligned with who I am now. Not that where I was before wasn't in alignment. I think I was there for a reason. I just feel more in touch with myself. And I remember before I left going on a hike with some girlfriends one day. We did Humphreys Peak. But I remember, and I verbally expressed it too on the way down to the two girls that I was with, that like I realized in that moment that I wasn't happy anymore. I just remember thinking to myself on that hike, I am not happy right now, but being here, like even though I feel like a child right now, I feel like I can't find my footing and like this is completely different territory. Something inside me intuitively felt like I was in the right spot and that I needed to be in that spot more. But I was still in the old job, and so I remember feeling a little bit frozen. And I remember I actually cried a little bit on the way back to our cars as we were walking down on the trail, because I realized that I wasn't happy in my job anymore like I thought I would be, and that I was happy out there in this place that I've never really been before. That hike was really significant for me in terms of the next steps that were to come. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but I remember that being a significant moment and verbally expressing that I'm not happy anymore here and something needs to happen.
So what were the major steps you took to prepare for leaving?
I felt so clear one day. I think I got home from yoga and I just went down to my garage. I had an attached garage. It was amazing. I loved that thing. So I had a second floor condo. I went down to my attached garage and I just started messing around with my car to see if it actually even made sense that I take this road trip and stay in my car. Yeah, the first thing I did was recline the seat, and then I put the back seat forward and found out that I didn't have enough room to sleep in the back of my Prius. So I went to the store and I bought a couple of cots and just started prototyping to see if I could get something to work. And they both worked, but one worked better than the other. And once that cot fit in my car, I'm pretty sure that I quit my job the very next day. After I got the call to quit, I walked into my director's office. My boss was out of town. I was so timid. My voice was shaking, and I was shaking, and I was just like, Elliot, I am ready to put in my 2-week notice, and I need to know what to do. That was the beginning of this whole thing. So it was really, first it was meditation on it, like, is this something I want to do? And then the decision was made not long after I started thinking about it. And then once the cot worked, I quit the job, and it was labor intensive to, I sold everything after that. I got rid of most of what I had and put everything in storage. And that process was definitely labor intensive and very emotional to let things go of. But in retrospect, it all happened really naturally. Even though there were challenges and it was bumpy, I felt like I was exactly where I needed to be, and it felt completely natural.
Where did you go, and why did you go, like, in the direction you went?
So I started heading north from Arizona, and the reason that I went there is because I was on my way to a Vipassana meditation retreat. Have you heard of that?
No.
Vipassana is a style of meditation. These clinics are all around the world. These are internationally placed, and they're run by volunteers. So it's a 10-day silent meditation retreat. And that was my number one priority, was to get to one of these retreats. And so I picked one in Canada that I wanted to go to in the Alberta area. And I just started driving towards that. And it led me, I thought I was just gonna take the freeway and continue going in the direction of the retreat. But I ended up getting, what was the first national park? Was the Grand Tetons. I ended up there. I didn't realize that I was headed into the Grand Tetons. And once I got in, I was just like, what is this place? I am in heaven right now. And so I ended up staying there for 7 days. I got acquainted with the Tetons and fell in love with it. And then kept going, and Yellowstone is on the other side of the Tetons, and that's where you and I met, at the Boiling River. And I spent a week in Yellowstone, loved it, fell in love just with nature again. And really interestingly, I didn't listen to music this entire time. It ended up being a silent few weeks for me. And so when I got out of Yellowstone, and it was a lot of time by myself and driving and thinking and not thinking and reflecting and not reflecting. So once I got out of Yellowstone, I felt no longer attached to the idea of making it to this 10-day meditation. And at that time, I thought I was only going to be traveling for 3 months. And so I was like, well, I don't want to sit in a 10-day meditation for 10 days. I'd rather go explore more national parks. I feel like I'm getting enough silent meditation time just driving with no music. And I hadn't thought about listening to music until that point. And then I turned it on again, and it was this mind-blowing experience because it had been silent for the first couple of weeks. But it wasn't intended, it just happened. So then I got to Canada, and I didn't end up doing the meditation, but I did end up exploring more national parks. I went through Glacier first to get there, and then I did Banff National Parks and Jasper National Parks up in Alberta and BC. So back to the original question of from a bird's eye view, my plan was go to this 10-day silent meditation and then do the west coast of the United States. I just wanted to drive the PCH. Well, once I spent, it was about 6 weeks that I spent in Canada, and then I finally started making my journey down Highway 1. I ended up meeting this gal in Washington, in Olympic National Park, and we jived really well, and she asked if I wanted to go to Yosemite with her and Crater Lake, like she just asked if I wanted to travel for a little while with her, and I said, yeah, totally. So we went to Crater Lake and then Yosemite because it was on her list of things to do. And once we got there, we were invited to a campfire at Camp 4, which is an iconic climbing site. It's where all the climbers stay in Yosemite, one of the places where the climbers stay. And I was invited 3 different times to go climb that night. And I said yes to one of them. And so the next day I started climbing, and my path took form after that quite a bit into how it is right now.
So you're on the road in your Prius.
Yeah.
All your stuff. Describe a typical day.
So once it evolved to where I was in a flow, it was really food and water that dictated my path. Mostly water, because I prefer to drink from freshwater springs. I love fresh spring water, and that's how I made my path for a while. And then I would go to places that were around there, national parks that looked inviting, or just even parks in general, or whatever sites I wanted to see, or if I had friends in the area. So making sure I had enough water and good food, obviously vegetables, was the most important thing to me. Well, if I had that, if I had water, and if I had food, then yeah, I wanted to be in nature. I did not want to be in cities at all. I just wanted to camp in nature by myself if possible. It's just where I was at that time. I would really just pull up a map, find a body of water, and then I would drive towards it if I felt drawn to it. There were some times where I would pick something out the night before, and then I would wake up and it wouldn't feel the same. It'd feel different, and so I'd pick a different spot. But it was very, very focused on intuition, very in touch with the way that I was feeling that day. And even in that moment, there were times where I would be on the way to something and have a change of heart, or want to turn down some road that I didn't expect to find. And so that's what I would do. And I have found some of the most amazing places that I have been to that way. And that's what I wanted when I left. When I quit my job, I wanted to create an opportunity for myself where I could spend some time exploring and turn down any old road that I want without having to think about being back to a job.
How do you feel that living with less stuff has transformed you?
It's so much better. It's so much better. That's something that I wanted to accomplish. I have goosebumps, so I'm getting a little bit emotional. So I had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo all to myself, and I had so much space, but had a lot of stuff too in it that I had just been accumulating my whole entire life. And I really, really wanted to get to the point where I could let a lot of it go. But it was really difficult for me to even go through the first purge. But the feeling of not having a bunch of stuff anymore that I have to sort through has opened up a lot of space in my head. The stuff that I still do have occupies space in my mind. I think about it from time to time, not as much as I used to because there's way less, but I think about it like, well, what's in there that I could still get rid of, or like, what am I holding on to? And a lot of the stuff is sentimental stuff. Like I told you, my mom gave me a bunch of hand-me-downs, stuff that I did, like school projects when I was younger. And there's a part of me that just wants to chuck it just to get it out of my head. At the same time, I can't replace that stuff ever. And it is really nostalgic to go back and look at it sometimes. It feels really good to have let go of a lot, but every single time I go back to that pile, it's pretty emotional because there's a part of me that really wishes that I could be more like you and just let it all go. In fact, the last time I visited the pile, I thought of you because I was like, man, Nick only has what he has in his car. Like, he actually doesn't have anything else. And could I ever get to that point where I let go of the old photographs and the old school projects and things like that. And I do notice that every time I let go of more, I feel lighter. And every time I go to that pile, it's really emotional. So every time I do it, I think, God, it's going to be so freeing if I could just let go of all this stuff. And then at the same time, I feel like it just hasn't been my time to actually, like, if it gets to that and if it feels good and if I'm totally psyched on it, it'll be time. But I don't want to force myself to let go of stuff that I feel I might regret. It's been really freeing to let go of everything, and it's satisfied an internal goal that I had at the very beginning of this process, which was get organized, get rid of stuff I don't need anymore. Feel like I know what's going on with my belongings. Like I have everything and everything has a purpose. I feel like I'm more there now than I was, but I also feel like I still have a lot of improvement to do. Like I have way too much stuff in my car. But at this point, I feel like I have everything I need. But I also started rock climbing and I'm accumulating gear now. And that wasn't there before. So it's kind of been a flux of letting things go that I don't actually need to make space for things that I use. Something that's really important to know is that it does seem simple. Like, I think it's a fantasy. You know, I think I had the fantasy for a couple of years before I actually quit. But this fantasy of like, oh, I just want to quit my job and sell everything and travel. Like, it sounds so simple. But it's actually a very emotional and labor-intensive process to make the decision and then take all of the steps to make it happen.